Hi there, and welcome to the Anita Chat podcast. I'm your host, Anita Rombo, and this is the podcast for growth-oriented women to have authentic, real talk. Nothing is off the table here, but as an intuitive self-relationship coach, you'll find the content gravitates towards mindset, intentional action, spirituality, and all things wellness. So if you're ready to learn, laugh, show up, and glow up to be the best version of yourself, grab your favorite bevy, settle in, and we've got lots to chat about. Hi friends, and welcome to another episode of I Need to Chat. As you know from tuning into the last episode, I was looking forward to a vacation away from adulting and parenting and everything for a whole week. And I'm now back. So I'm back from a glorious vacation. I went away for a week to Mexico with two of my girlfriends. In fact, these two girlfriends had not met each other before the trip, so that was interesting, but they got along fabulously. And in all honesty, this trip was perfectly what I needed for my soul. Things couldn't have gone more smoothly. There was a lot of things that could have potentially caused some hiccups along the way. For example, two friends traveling together that don't know each other, traveling post-COVID and all those kind of COVID protocols and potentially getting sick on the vacation, all of that jazz. But I'm really happy to say that none of that happened. And from the very beginning of this trip to the very end of this trip, everything went smoothly and perfectly, and I couldn't have asked for anything different. There is one detail in particular that I am still in jaw-dropping awe about, and that is the topic that I want to chat about today with you. So it has to do with a synchronicity. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the term synchronicity, it can be defined as an inexplicable and profoundly meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than the probability of chance is involved. In other words, things unfold or line up in some sort of magical way that stirs your soul and has you in disbelief. And 1 week later, I am still stirred up and in disbelief, my friends. And I'll tell you, this isn't my first rodeo with synchronicity or manifestation. In fact, this happens to me quite a bit, but since this is fresh in my mind and something that I consider to be a very pivotal moment, I feel compelled to share this story with you. So, without any further ado, here is my story. As you know, I was away for a week. And during this time away, we kind of came up with our own kind of routines and structure to our week that we found relaxing and rejuvenating and enjoyable. After dinner, we would usually find ourselves in the lobby bar, which was just a beautiful open area where we, depending on the mood of the night, were either sipping on some cocktails or some herbal teas. And we had brought a lot of games along. And so we would bust out a game every evening and enjoy the live music or the lobby bar music. Both were really amazing, and just enjoy each other's company and play games and whatnot until we were tired and ready to call it a night. So this was our last night, and it was a bit of a bittersweet moment. It was a really wonderful, perfect week, which we were super grateful for. We were missing our families and excited to get back to them, but also sad to be leaving this little slice of paradise. We were scheduled to leave the resort the next morning at 8:30 in the morning. So we wanted to go to the reception desk and request for some assistance with getting our luggage to the lobby for early in the morning the next day. And so that trip to the reception desk was where everything went down. Alrighty, so what happened is we move our way from the lobby bar to the reception area desk to see if we can arrange for luggage pickup the next morning. And while we're there, there's a throng of people because, as you know, people are always coming and going from these resorts and looking for support. And there was a familiar face in the crowd. I have a really good memory for faces. So this face in particular stood out to me. I recognized it instantaneously, but I wasn't able to place the individual. And I'm not quite sure if this individual recognized or placed me either. But I smiled and said a friendly hello, to which I got a hi back. And my friends were like, "Did you know her?" They're not really at this point surprised at my behavior simply because I am a friendly person. I do talk to a lot of strangers, if you will. And so I said, "No, I don't think I do. Or in fact, I do think I do, but I don't know from where." And so then my friend says, "What about those Indian uncles right over there? Do you recognize any of them?" And these group of Indian uncles were literally right in front of us. And I hadn't even noticed them before. And no, none of them looked familiar. Until, that is, one of them turned around
And that is when all of this craziness started. Our jaws just dropped to the ground because that Indian uncle actually was my uncle. He was my dad's sister's husband, and they were just checking in. They were a group from Calgary. So him, my aunt, and their friends were a group from Calgary that were just checking in for their vacation. And it was a real sliding doors moment because if we weren't there at that particular time, we would have missed them entirely. From where we were sitting at the lobby bar, we did not have view of the reception desk. And it was quite later in the evening and they had a longer trip. So they probably would have just moved right to grab a quick dinner and then go to their room. And we would have probably missed them. So it was a real sliding doors moment that we just kind of reconnected at this place. And my mind in itself was just like, what are the chances that we're having a family reunion after 4+ years, a pandemic, and all sorts of things in the middle of Mexico? It seemed really highly unlikely. But here is the icing on that cake. So I mentioned that they traveled with a group of friends, and one of this group of friends was actually my late best friend's parents. Earlier that afternoon, I was in the pool with my friend and we were chatting, and I was just sharing with her how much I missed my best friend, Pam. And if you haven't tuned into episode 11, Midlife Musings on Friendship, you would have heard me reference this friendship that I had with Pam. Now, Pam died tragically, unexpectedly. She was a young, beautiful, vibrant individual, somebody who was a very big piece of my life and continues to be a big piece of my heart. And that was a really life-defining moment for me when she passed away. I never really met her parents throughout all of this because when we became close, she lived in Toronto and her family was from Calgary. So I had gotten to know her brother quite a bit. I'd obviously heard so many wonderful things about her parents, but I'd never seen them. And when Pam passed away, I was unable to travel because I was in very advanced stages. I was weeks away from delivering my firstborn. So I wasn't able to be there at the funeral. I had never actually met them, and I never was able to express how much I love their daughter or share in their grief with them. And I care about them so much, but they're just people I hadn't yet met. And there they were in the lobby. And it was so surreal for me to see her parents. She looked so much like her father. She has the stature of her mother. There were just so much love, and it was such an emotional moment for everyone. And so, my friends, that in essence is my synchronistic moment. I am still in jaw-dropping awe that I would run into family members, close family members at that have been separated through a pandemic and just life in general. Me, my husband, and our kids, we have not gone up to Calgary since my son was born. He's never been there. So that's already been 9 years. To have the ability to meet my friend Pam's parents, who I know she thought the world of these people, and I know they felt that she thought the world of me, and just to have this really emotional connection and reunion. Unexpected. I'm getting teary just thinking about it. It was really such a beautiful moment. And it took my trip and elevated it from good to great. And of course, the universe works in mysterious ways. So who knows why this happened? I'm just really grateful that it did. It just meant so much to me. And if I had to surmise about why this happened, I think that, again, the universe happens for you and not to you. And I think that what I needed and what her parents needed was a deep healing. And I think this impromptu meeting happened because it supported a much needed healing for both of us. I had not met her parents before this. I really wanted to see them. I really needed to see them. And I needed to let them know how much I loved their daughter and how special she was to me. And I think Pam's parents needed to see me too. After almost 9 years since her passing, this was their first vacation since their daughter's death. And, time and life has stopped for them in their grief. And in that moment, Pam's mother kept saying she felt like Pam was speaking to her through me. And I felt that too. I just felt this connection, this love. And I felt like seeing me was perhaps a sign from her to them to be happy, because I know that that's definitely what Pam would have wanted. If you've seen the movie, it's kind of a sliding doors moment where if our paths hadn't crossed at that precise moment, we would have been so close to each other in Mexico and not known it. And this fated and chance encounter then led to a few hours for us to catch up and enjoy each other's company before we all went on to our different ways as to return home and them to start their vacation. So my friends, that is my story. And I'm curious, do you believe in synchronicities, or would you consider this a coincidence? I mentioned that this is not the first time things like this have happened to me. Has anything like this happened to you before as well? Reach out to me and let me know. My contact details are in the episode description. And with that, friends, I will see you next Wednesday, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Anita Chat podcast. If you haven't taken a minute to leave a review, I would absolutely love to hear from you. All you need to do is to search for the show, click your star rating, and type in a few words. Also, if there's a specific topic you'd like to see covered in this podcast, if you'd like me to be your coach, or if you want to just chat, feel free to send me an email or shoot me a message through my IG, which you'll find in the show notes. The show notes will also contain any links to the freebies that were referenced in this episode. Until next time, friends, it's been great chatting with you.